Barbershop Talk, greetings. This is the first show we've ever had to do a national emergency around. We have a serious situation here in America, in South Minnesota. Have you heard all the accolades they're giving to quarterback Lamar Jackson, saying he's the greatest ever? We have a national emergency, and we need to wake up South Minnesota. We need to wake up America to the fact that there's more. Do you remember Randall Cunningham, one of the ultimate mobile quarterbacks? The best ever, Lamar Jackson? Come on. Do you remember Michael Vick, right? You see the highlights he had last week, Lamar Jackson? They were great. But do you remember Michael Vick? How about Cam Newton? How about Cordell Stewart? How about Donovan McNabb? Lamar Jackson? What's going on in our country? Barbershop Talk. This is what's going on in our area.
At Greenhouse Graphics, we offer award-winning design services at affordable rates to help your business attract customers and ultimately affect your bottom line. Working with you one-on-one at whatever stage you're at in developing your brand. I want to help drive success to your business with excellent design and quality marketing materials. From startup companies in need of custom graphics, websites, logos, to seasonal maintenance, I got you covered. I take time and listen and care about your needs. I understand that image and quality mean everything in business when it comes to leaving a lasting impression on your clients and customers that lasts a lifetime. With nearly 2 decades of experience, it is in my DNA to create eye-popping graphics for your business. Greenhouse Graphics, making sure you always look your best.
All right, as we do in the barbershop and beauty shop, we debate, we argue, we have fun, we hit the topics, and we keep it real while laughing and enjoying each other. And certainly we've added that to our Barbershop Talk show. So for our Keep It 100 or Keep It Real topics today, we're going to go with the Donna You Crazy segment first. And we're going to go with this fact: Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens, the quarterback. Yeah, he's sensational, all that kind of stuff, but he's weak. He's straight up weak. And then our next subject matter will be this. As we know, or should know, in this past week, the impeachment hearings for President Trump have gone to a public phase. Is it time to pay attention, no matter where you fall on it, if he's guilty or not, or what have you? Is it time for all of us to pipe up to this and get engaged around this very idea of impeachment in the United States of America? And then the Republican Party. All for the greater good. The Republican movement It seems as though this party is willing to flirt with racism, maybe have racists in their party, or just maybe just allow it on the fringe just to keep their votes and keep their focus. Is this okay for a party to even reflect the lack of diversity in today's America? All for the greater good, or is it bad for this party? We'll talk about that. Get ready for our Keep It 100 segment. All right, welcome to Barbershop Talk. Donovan Bailey here, co-host with Bud, a co-host as well. We are privileged to have Senator Senjem in the house. A great senator, has done a lot of work down here in South Minnesota, so we will mix it up with him in a minute, but we want to welcome you to our show. As Senator Wellstone said, or his quote, we all do better when we all do better, and that's what this show is about. We are about the at-risk community, the voiceless community, and certainly the African-American community, but we're about the community as a whole, and in our opinion, when we all do better, we all do better. So that's what this is about. Thank you for tuning in. Join us. It's a grassroots effort, as you can see, but it is making an impact, and we love to reach our at-risk community. As we do at each show when we open, we get into the Keep It Real topics. And we have Senator Senjem, and we gave him the disclaimer already. He can chime in or he doesn't have to. So we're going to go with the Donnie is Crazy, or Donnie You Crazy segment up front, right? This time, because I'm very passionate about this. And again, this is dedicated to that one individual in the group that is always contrary, saying crazy things. Sometimes they're right, most of the time they're way off. So I'm going to be that person here today.
Okay, we'll let you go.
So the Donnie You Crazy statement for this show is, Lamar Jackson is weak. The quarterback for the Ravens.
Is that a statement or a question?
That is a statement. He's weak. Okay.
Did you watch television last week?
I did. Okay. Now is the time. I'm going to qualify my statement. Right. The NFL, the media, we always get enamored with the latest and greatest. But have we forgotten? Have we forgotten Randall Cunningham, Michael Vick?
Absolutely.
Right? Donovan McNabb. All of these players who are mobile quarterbacks. And essentially, Michael, because they're saying of Lamar Jackson, and of course, he's not weak. But that's the crazy statement, right? He is magnificent. But he doesn't look better than Michael Vick from a standpoint of Lamar. Am I right? Oh, Bud is not looking at me crazy.
Well,
he can pass it probably
that's
better.
debatable. That's debatable.
Okay.
Mike Vick was throwing it out the stadium from the 50-yard line. So
Right.
He ain't got the
Cunningham
Mike
took
Vick
us to a field goal missed.
Thank you,
To the
Senator.
Super Bowl.
Right. And this is the real thing about this, is all these mobile quarterbacks, who are mostly mobile first, have any of them gone to a Super Bowl? No.
Oh, my.
They had to be dual threat, passing and running.
McNabb.
Donovan, but he was dual threat, right?
Yeah,
But he never won the chip.
Nah, he didn't.
So that's yeah. So be careful. And also these quarterbacks, right? They get hurt easily, right?
Mm-hmm.
So watch out, Lamar. He's great. That little spin thing he did last Sunday was off the charts crazy. But be careful, y'all. All right.
Chuck Foreman used to do that all the time.
Yeah. See.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. But he wasn't quarterback.
Come on, NFL sports community, get it right. Another thing in the sports community, and this is somewhat, I don't know if it's controversial, but today, Mr. Colin Kaepernick is auditioning, for lack of a better way of saying it, to get back in the NFL. Will he get in, or is this all a stunt?
The Bears can use him. I'll tell you that.
He's got talent.
Right.
And that's what we ought to base this on.
Right.
He ought to be playing.
He ought to be playing.
Right?
It'll be interesting if he gets on, and this is going to be his challenge, I think, and I could be wrong. If he gets on a team, it's not going to be about football. They're going to go all the way back to when he kneeled down and really get on those issues. And not to say that he shouldn't speak to those issues, but it's not going to be about football.
So with that, normally when somebody comes, they usually try for a team. Team set up the trials. And
Right.
But the NFL's set up this trial. So how do you feel about that?
From what I'm hearing, and I'm very ignorant, one, it's on a Saturday, and I listened to Tony Dungy.
Yeah.
Great guy. He said that's a major faux pas, goof up, because teams are traveling, scouts are traveling to college games, and nobody's going to be there.
Game next day.
Yeah. So I think it's a mess up. And is it just a photo op? Just to say, hey, we tried, blah, 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 and then he doesn't get a job.
I'm going to believe the guy can still play.
Right.
And if he can still play, there's going to be somebody that needs him.
Yeah,
Probably right now.
I think the Vikings need him.
I think the Bears need him.
That's my diss. That's my diss on the Vikings. Go Packers. All right, next, and we last this in our last show. Obviously, the impeachment hearings have gone public, and we've talked about this in our community, and we have basically concluded a lot of us not really paying attention to it until the hammer comes down or it doesn't come down. But now that it's gone public, should we be paying attention to these impeachment hearings, or is it just partisan jabbing at this point?
You want an answer?
Yeah, yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Well, I think we ought to be paying attention. And,
Yeah.
this is our country. And,
Right.
We've got to be involved, pay attention. You can
Right.
believe or not believe, but
Right.
but you got to care about the country.
Right. I agree.
Either way, you got to care about the country.
Right. All right, our last topic, and Senator, you can help us with this, and I know you're a local Republican, you've done a lot of great things, so certainly don't feel in the spot with regard to your agenda and what you've done for South Minnesota and what have you. But it's alarming to me. Well, let me give you an example. A couple of days ago, no, actually it was yesterday, I wake up, and my custom is, and it's a bad custom, I'll mind you. As soon as I wake up, click on the TV, MSNBC Morning Joe. That's where I get my politics, right? And I saw the heading, and it basically said, one of the White House aides, 900 emails was sent to Breitbart promoting white nationalism. This is a top White House aide that is currently in the White House, sent 900 emails from what was said about white nationalism. And, what I thought was, wow, I'm waking up in this country.
Yeah.
And it hit me hard. And my question to us is, and this is what's more alarming to me, not that 900 emails were sent or the racial animus that is around our president. It is there whether it is legit or not. I'm going to play devil's advocate and saying it might be legit or not. But what is scary to me is the Republican movement has said this. Guess what? This one we're going to just, it might exist, but we're going to turn our nose to it for the greater good. And to me, that's scary, that a national party is saying, okay, yeah, maybe it exists. And again, I'm playing devil's advocate here. But that's something we can, for the greater good, we can just let go in pursuit of our agenda. That is super scary to me. What do you think about it? And again, I know local politics is different from national politics, but it would seem to me someone in the Republican Party, whether Donald Trump is the greatest or not, they would say, guess what? On this one, it ain't happening. Okay, I don't care about votes. We are not going to be the party of racism. And right now, I know within our community, and I think we think the Republicans, not talking about policies, is the party that is open to racism. And that includes our local politics.
Yeah. We get. I will put my phone up. We get some of that. We get some of that too. And so what's the answer? I don't think we figured it out.
Right.
I'm just going to freelance here today.
Right. Yeah, that's what it is. We're in the barbershop.
Freelance.
Yeah.
It's. I think to some extent, we and maybe everybody are this freedom of speech things, which is
right.
Freedom of speech, freedom to think, and so on and so forth. We guard that in some respect.
Right.
And I think at least I'll just go to myself. So how do I combat that? I just try to judge me by my actions.
Right.
Judge me by my actions, and I think we just maybe all just try to pull everybody along with respect to our actions. Let our actions speak for ourselves, as opposed to identifying with any of almost call it crap.
Right.
And it's to some extent you just don't have time for it. You need to have time for it, but it is freedom of speech. You don't want to take that away, but you don't want any part of it either. So,
Right. It just seems to me something you would think someone would say, guess what? We are not going to be the party of racism. Whoever the impeachment's wrong, the president's great, all that kind of stuff. But guess what? We draw the line at racism, and it will not be a part of our party. And when the president or anybody else says it, I'm going to speak up as a leader and say, no, that is not the Republican Party. That's the scary part, because no one is doing it. Yeah.
Well, I think I would say it right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the Republican Party I belong to.
Right.
Or think I belong to.
So how do you deal with that? Because and this is again, our community, when they see the R, most not everybody, they think, hey, that's the party of a lot of Euro Americans that don't like minorities. I mean, I think they already, and you're a great citizen. You've done a lot of great things. So don't take that personally. and your record speaks for itself. But how do you deal with that, or is it just something? Hey, it is what it is. We'll just roll with it.
You know, honestly, I think, and I just get myself. Everybody's different.
Mhm.
I can tell you this: when we sit in our caucus at the state capitol, we don't think like that. We don't talk like that.
That's great. That's great.
You know, that's not part of the Minnesota Senate Republican caucus.
Right.
And I would dare say the House either.
Right.
We're not in there espousing racism.
Right. I agree.
At all. And so where does this all arise? You know,
Can you all censor the president? I know
Beg
it's
pardon?
crazy. Can the state of Minnesota and a Republican
Yeah, right.
Party censor the president and say, hey, we love your politics, but we don't like the racism. You're screwing
yeah,
up.
you know, the racism part, I'm not even sure it's, I'll just say it among some elected people. It's just the body politic out there that,
Right.
that can say and do what they want. And,
That's true.
And they do. And, but for goodness sakes, I can assure anybody to the nth degree that, you know, if we're racist, it's not on our mind. And,
Right.
And it's because we just don't understand.
And I will say, as we have Senator Senjem here, you have done some great things in South Minnesota. You're a great senator. And we welcome Senator Nelson here for our show. We also have some guests here, and guests, you are cool to ask questions, chime in, whatever you want, controversy or not. It is the barbershop. We keep it real here, so feel free to chime in if you want. But thank you, Senator, for being
You're
here.
welcome. Thank you.
As a leader, our community needs to hear from you, and you're always accessible.
You know, leader's a big word.
Yeah.
I'm a public servant.
Yeah.
Leader's a big word. I don't know what a leader is, to be honest with you. But
So
we work in a spirit of servanthood. That's
Right.
what we do.
As a public servant, what's your the biggest I guess goal for your constituents?
Oh, you know, that's you know, a healthy, vibrant Minnesota that recognizes, frankly, because we're talking about a day diversity that gets along, that works along, and it moves our state together hand in hand.
Right.
You know, that would be the goal. I mean, I work on things, you know, mental illness.
You do,
big
yes.
on energy and
Yeah.
so on and so forth. We do capital infrastructure projects all over the state. But you know, but we all want the kind of place that we all want.
Right. That's right.
And that's why we go. That's why we knock on doors and ask for this job.
That's right.
One of the big things in our community, and I know W.C. Jordan with the NAACP is pushing a lot of this, and rightfully so, at least in how it looks, maybe not how it's playing out.
Sure.
DMC, are you satisfied with DMC, how it's obviously growing and becoming this awesome community edifice, but is it reaching, or will it be a good outreach to our at-risk, minority, voiceless folks? Or is it an entity, and I ask this in the sense of the 6 billion or 6 million, I can't remember the figure, state tax dollars that has gone towards DMC.
585 million over the course of 20 years.
Woo!
And it depends on how
That's a lot of
much, it
money.
all
Yes.
depends on how much Mayo spent. It's not like we're gonna check, you know, send you a check. Mayo has to spend the money, and about 10% of that will follow from the state to the city of Rochester, not
Right.
to Mayo,
Right.
to apply, you know, the background and the infrastructure needs to make all this happen.
Right.
Because it's a great big huge project.
No doubt about it, and we're seeing it already impact the community.
Yeah, right.
Is it just going to be a trickle down thing? And I don't have that in the sense of that. I know that's a Republican agenda. They'll build the great edifice, all the great things, and they'll trickle down to everybody.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
should there be agendas to those voiceless folks?
Yeah.
Equal opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe, can I just, we got time, don't we?
Oh yeah, well,
Okay.
yes, absolutely.
So the first day I ever learned about DMC with Dr. Noseworthy and a few other people, the message was this, and I think it continues to be. Mayo had always strived to be the best medical institution in
Absolutely.
America, the world, et cetera, et cetera. Now they'd seen a need to grow, and they were going to grow big. In fact, they were going to invest $585 million, $5 billion into Rochester. The reason that they needed, and to grow big, you needed to be an attractive destination for patients to come here.
Absolutely.
And so every survey they done and every kind of focus group of things. The resounding message was when people come to Mayo, patients, there's not much left after the 6 or 8
Right.
hours at Mayo Clinic, and so we needed to enhance the city itself. That's to be attractive to patients, to allow that growth to occur. And so Mayo said, we're gonna grow. Cities, their city has to provide the infrastructure for that growth, and that's where the state money came from. But amongst that growth, and they also said we're gonna grow, and by the way, 25 to 30,000 new employees over the course of the next 20 years.
Wow, yeah.
So is that gonna provide opportunities to a whole bunch of other people?
Right.
Of course it is. And there'll be really, really good top paying jobs.
Right.
There'll be support services jobs
Right.
within that.
Right.
I would like to think that's going to, if you will, lift all boats.
Right. Okay.
And be good for a community. I won't say it too loudly, but the opposite of all that is, what if they would have decided, no, we're going to invest $5 billion, but what if that was in Scottsdale, Arizona? It could have been.
It could have been. You're right.
Could have been.
It could have
and
been.
that would have not maybe good.
Benefit of the state.
Yeah.
That's true. That's a different way to look at it.
That would have been, and we used to call Rochester the flagship of Mayo. What if Arizona became the flagship?
Yeah.
Rochester
Easily
was a
within
secondary clinic that we don't walk away from it, but
Right.
we don't grow it. And so I think
That is a different way to look at it.
I just think we're lucky that Mayo in the end,
Right.
vis-a-vis a lot, DMC decided to stake their future in Rochester.
And so in essence, we should be thankful.
Yeah.
This is going to trickle down, or whatever word you want to use. When this thing is built, or as it's being built, it's going to bring the opportunities for everybody.
When you think about, Arizona, you've got all those patients from the Southwest, be it Los Angeles, San Diego,
Right.
Phoenix.
They could
so
have
on.
easily put that in.
Easily. In Las Vegas,
Mhm.
it really almost doesn't make sense for
Right.
them to do it here.
Right.
But they did it. It's its own business.
That's a great perspective. I
Yeah.
really
It
didn't
is,
think
it
about
is.
that.
Good way to look at it.
So this is a fun issue.
All right.
Marijuana, the Buddha, Senator.
Mary Jane.
Mary Jane.
Marijuana.
My prediction is it's going to be legalized in Minnesota, and not on any moral or political agenda, but on the fact that Michigan, Colorado, Washington, California, and other states that are adopting this, they are getting major revenue from this herb, if you will, and Minnesota's going to say, no, we want a part of that as well.
I was just reading the other day, Colorado, I think, is declaring $1 billion, I believe, a year.
Yeah.
And that's hard to walk away from.
Right.
But frankly, it's probably happening anyway.
Right, exactly.
And,
yeah, true. And we know in our criminal justice system,
So, we get at the legislature, we get resounding warnings from law enforcement about this and other people involved in the social services side of things. But it's certainly trending.
Right.
And whether it's next year or the year after that or 5 years, I don't know, but it's probably on the way.
Right.
And I don't
Would
want
that be a hard
to
vote
sound
for you?
too soft. I voted for medical marijuana. I stepped out on that one pretty early. Actually, it was one of the first. I got to be humble. I mean, I don't always say I did this, I did that. That's not me. But yeah. I mean, and thinking about just about that, if somebody's like dying of cancer or anything else,
Right.
If they want to smoke marijuana, you just smoke all you want, as far as I'm concerned. If it helps you, it helps you.
Absolutely.
And we don't have to have law enforcement entering your home and saying you're, it's just ridiculous. So, and so now we get into the regular, legal marijuana for everybody. And then you got to step back. I don't know. It's like, am I really for it right now? But we can all walk on whiskey, in the liquor store and buy whiskey.
Right,
We
absolutely.
can buy all the beer we want. We can implode ourselves, so to speak, if we want to, and on those kind of agents. And but I've never done it, so I don't know.
I inhale. No, I'm joking.
I have absolutely never done it. I smelled it.
I did not
once.
inhale. Mama, I didn't do
I
it.
smelled it once in San Francisco. I feel like I'm just living in it.
Secondhand smoke. Is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah.
But it's there. We get lots and lots of emails on it. It's got a fairly strong lobby. There's money someplace, coming from someplace.
Right.
Money.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, I would think it would be ratified.
And there's people walking the halls of the Capitol that are saying it's time. So
would that vote would that be a people vote, or would it be? Because I know when they voted on same-sex marriage, that was more of a vote amongst the people.
I don't think it would be. I
Would it
think
be-
it would just be the legislature
Okay.
declaring that. I don't think it's a constitutional issue.
Okay.
Okay.
We vote on, when we change the Constitution in Minnesota, then everybody votes. Other than that,
That's what that
yeah,
was.
other than that, it's just a
That's
law.
education
Yeah,
to me. I
right,
didn't know
yeah.
that.
So what's your opinion about the other side, the people that's incarcerated because of marijuana crimes? When it
No, I think we need to look at that. I mean, I think, you know, and I'm not an expert on sentencing guidelines, but I think we need to look at that. I mean, we, and beyond that, this was one of the things that you kind of gave us a little bit of an idea, what you're gonna talk about, the whole criminal justice reform.
Right.
What
Right.
really gets me is that, is the way we keep track of these kind of things. Now, if somebody commits a crime, yeah, maybe we ought to. But if, you know, keep these kind of records, but there's a lot of cases that are dismissed and things like this here, and yet that record follows people their whole life. And, or, you know, a second, third, fourth degree felony, you know, you get a felony conviction and you just can't do a lot of things, you know, patient care and things like this here. And we just don't take those off the record if they're dismissed or, you know, if people have kind of done their time, so to speak. I mean, we just need to look at that. It just hurts a lot of people, and I would say a great sense of minority people.
Right. Is there a way we can revamp? Criminal justice reform is huge, but in my opinion, I spoke with our last show, we're missing the back end of this. 37% of the criminal justice system in Minnesota is African American, while being only 6 or 7% of the population of this state. Huge wing of correction. Probably it's going to be up in the 40s or maybe 50s when you add in probation and so on and so forth. Yet when I did a study maybe 6 years ago of diversity within DOC, when I think of therapy, and Bud runs an amazing program that is very culturally competent. DOC is not culturally competent. And to me, that blows my mind, respectfully said, when you have 40 to 50% of your clientele just African American. We're not adding in the 9% of Native Americans, the Hispanic community, and others. There's little diversity there, and I know a lot of people are thinking, well, it's criminal justice. It's about locking people up, blah blah blah. No, when you think of this historical trauma and these issues around these communities that have been in the criminal justice system, you know, legalizing marijuana won't stop the issue.
Can I just tell you a story?
Yes, yes.
This is about, it's 4 years, it doesn't matter how many years ago, 14 years ago. So we do these bonding tours. We travel all over Minnesota looking at stuff to build infrastructure. And so the request was for a new intake facility at the St. Cloud Penitentiary.
That's right. Yes.
And so we are up there about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, our committee, and we're in the intake area, and the Hennepin County bus comes. A new batch of prisoners, 34 of them actually.
Wow.
33 of them were Afro-American.
Powerful.
They walk into this glass cell, and then they're going to be like triaged one at a time, you know, just get the health exams and everything else. And I'm looking over there, and they're, you know, it had to be, in my mind, the worst day of your life.
Right.
But it didn't look like it was the worst day of your life for these
Right.
people, and that's separate and aside. But I'm looking at these people in those glass cells, or that glass cell, and I'm wondering, excuse me, holy hell, where have we failed? My God.
Right.
When you see it in that context, in that environment, you just know there's something wrong.
Right. And that's what I get to see, but I get to see every day in our professions. And
that bus comes every week.
Yeah. And I really think there needs to be a revamp of how corrections is done. Not only policing, and that's what gets the press, but corrections. But we have a question, I think, from the audience. You have a question? Did someone have a question? Okay.
But we also, the education thing. And this is Hennepin County, when we're graduating 40% graduation rates in the Twin City areas.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's my good grief, what do we expect?
Right, exactly. So that's one of my passions is that this criminal justice.
So this is one of my passions too, by the way.
Yeah, that it goes into correction so that these folks, who have not only their families historically, incarceration is a part of their sociological DNA. It's scary, but it's true. How do we help them change that dynamic? Because when I deal with a young kid who when criminality is normality, just because of his upbringing and all these other things, how do I change their mindset? It's different than policing needs to happen and all those front endeavors. But that's one of my passions that I would love for DOC to be. And there's some DOC places around the nation and even internationally that are doing some creative things.
We can get my college, wonderful, but even a high school, we've got to get to this education as well.
Right, and well, that's another barrier in DOC. Yeah. This is where can they get a degree? They can get some college education, or even when I've toured some of the prisons, they can learn how to cut hair, barbershop.
Yeah.
They can, in Shakopee, they can learn to do beauty,
beauty salon, etc.
But they can't get their license
in certain areas. And then when you do get that degree, like you said before, you got this criminal background. People look at this, this paper that follows you, even when you get it expunged.
I think these are fixed. Like the state of Minnesota issues licenses. That should be a fixable deal.
Oh, absolutely. But I think it takes someone out of the box to say, guess what? Once maybe even a person has served a year or two, now they can move into much like boot camp in getting a license or a college degree, so that when they get out, we have given them tools so they don't come back. But DOC is still in that old mindset, and I'm not just a DOC. I'm sure you work with all those folks, but I think they're still in that old mindset where we correct it, and they have mental health, and they have some CD stuff. But nothing to really say, guess what? When I'm done with my 5 years, I have a viable skill to where recidivism doesn't kick up at the high rate that it usually does.
We have so much work to do in this area. And again, that St. Cloud experience just knocked me over.
So when Bud writes up a white paper or a bill, you will.
Yeah. No, this is guess what? I didn't know about this licensing thing. Where do we learn things? How does legislation happen? It seems to me like a pretty simple deal.
Right, it does, but it's just, even when I go in the court systems and I defend a client in my capacity within public defender work as a social worker, it's still tough to think, okay, maybe I need to treat this individual rather than imprisoning them, or a combination of the two.
And then I'll give you an example like LADC. You can go through all the school, all the classwork, but you can't be licensed to be a counselor if you have a background. Certain felonies, you don't qualify.
Well, you're probably the best, that person's probably the best counselor.
That's the example I use because
and that's the funny part about it.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And then, but it's still that roadblock.
And that's the funny part about LADC, when they professionalize. This when it used to be that old school AA sponsor thing, and that really worked. Now it's professionalized. And you're pushing folks that can really do that work out. So it's really interesting how
the important thing is we don't lose these. I'm not keeping notes. I'm keeping mental notes. But these are things that either you and I can work on, or somebody in the legislature can work on.
All right, bud. So write that white paper, bro. The senator's going to get it through.
He's going to run for office. It might be a competition in a couple of years.
You'll have to work on it.
No, sir. One question from the Council for Minnesota of African Heritage. Representative Saw is working on a bill to fund a full-time position from the Council for Minnesota of African Heritage in Rochester. We did have a full-time position, I don't know, 3 years ago. Our former Colo, Nemli Colo, was a full-time person here, and she was able to do great work because she was employed full-time. Rebecca Sardowski was also employed with CLAC, the Hispanic committee from our state, and now both of them are gone. So we don't have a full-time representative. If there was such a bill that came across, and I'm not sure if it comes across your desk, would you be supportive of that?
Well, I would probably, if Dwayne is, and I looked last night, Dwayne didn't carry it year. Yeah, I think this probably goes back a couple of years, and Cola and Rebecca, Cola especially,
Right.
not to diminish Rebecca either,
Right.
but Cola was here and involved in that long. She was really helpful for us,
Right.
we legislators, and certainly our city. And whatever happened there, it drifted away, and it's never come back. And frankly, we haven't had much conversation about it.
Right.
And there again, you know, something just kind of falls off the table. You know, it doesn't get picked up, and none of this can easily get picked up again. There's no question. I don't know where the resistance was. Certainly wasn't here.
Right. Right.
It had, whether it's human services someplace or
Right.
or not human services, what's the diversity agency? But whether it was there or not, I don't
Right.
know. But this is a conversation worth having, and
Right.
We ought to have it again. Yeah. Because Cola did great work.
We got a question from
Yeah.
the audience.
Yeah, so I wonder if I could circle back to the senator's earlier comments about kind of goals for constituents, and
Sure,
appreciate
right,
your
yeah.
perspective on that. And I would hope and would assume that safety is on that list as
Sure,
well
right,
as a
yeah,
goal for our
sure.
communities.
Right.
And so, in relation to that, a note that gun violence is the #2 cause of death for children in our state, and the #1 cause of death for Black children in our state. And so,
Wow.
as a co-lead of the Rochester chapter of Moms Demand Action, we are working to change that. And one way to do that is with legislation. And so there are bills that have passed the Minnesota House to work with that. And so as far as common sense gun reform, and so things like background checks for everybody, and registration, and not having weapons of war on our streets. And so wondering your thoughts on that,
Right.
knowing that they passed in the House and are sitting in the Minnesota Senate, and just wondering about your thoughts with that. Knowing also that these are things that are widely accepted and supported by over 80% of Minnesotans. This is what the people of Minnesota want to see, to keep our kids safe.
Well, there's the background check thing, and we've actually talked about that offline interimly this summer, and I think we're going to have some more conversation about that on next session. And then the other one, the so-called red flag rule, means if somebody is if somebody would report that somebody is of a nature that might be a threat to somebody, then law enforcement can intervene and maybe take their weapon away. And there ought to probably be, the intents of all these things always sound good, and then we get into like what are the words going to be?
Right.
And every you're in law. Every word matters in that statute.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Every word matters in that statute. I think, there are situations I personally had one in my own life that I had to intervene on with another family member to remove a gun from somebody that I thought was going to use it inappropriately, and that worked, but that doesn't work for everybody. There's situations certainly like that,
Right.
where I think it's we need it.
Right.
But then we get all these things about whether family squabbles and so on and so forth. And how do you put a piece of legislation together that just doesn't find you in situations where the law is being misused?
Right.
And that's all words.
Right.
You can find the words. I don't think, for us at least on our side, the words are quite there yet, but it doesn't mean they can't be.
I'm glad you brought that up. And it's amazing when you think many of the statistics that relate to the minority community, and to hear that Black young youth that's astounding.
Yes.
How do we, and Senator, and you as well, given what you all do, get to a happy medium on this issue? And I ask with total ignorance, because we have when Beto O'Rourke was running for president, he said, "I'm taking away all these guns." Of course, that's not going to happen in America, where guns are a religion. And then you have the other side as well, where they're not willing to do anything. What is a happy medium on this gun issue? And I don't know. What is a happy medium where we can deal with these gun deaths, so on and so forth. Is there a happy medium or not?
I wish I had this document with me, or I would have read it before. So we had our Senate Council actually go through all the gun laws for us this summer. And okay, where are these gaps in terms of the background checks?
Mhm.
And it would seem like they're very few, and then it gets to be a matter of enforcement,
Right.
whether they're being enforced or not. But when I say we're going to come back and talk about this more next session, we're going to talk about those gaps. Because it seemed to me after the Senate Council provided this document for us that many of the things that we talk about or are concerned about are really already covered in the law, and then we've got a couple of gaps that I think we can talk about.
Well, that'd be good. I mean, because it's a huge issue.
It really is.
And it's fun. I'll keep it real here in the barbershop with the community that I.
Just about every night there's, well, I don't cast guys our community, but
it's been bad. It's been pretty bad. And one of the things I will agree with the conservative community on, I say this respectfully, is many times they'll say, well, the bad people are going to get guns anyways. And I know my community, they're going to get guns anyways. So how do you do that? It's a real touchy issue. And I think it's one of those issues that when people get in their far corners, it really gets us nowhere. And I have no clue. But when you say African American youth, it's the #1 killer.
Yeah, #2.
So the guns kill, but what leads up to that, the circumstance that leads to that killing? It's everything that we've tried to talk about.
The individual, and that's where I don't think the government's really ready to go.
It's jobs, it's education,
it's all those things.
It's having the right attitude about aspiring for, this good life we talked about when we started the show.
Right. But as you say, that issue will be brought up again next session.
It will never go away. No,
right.
Of course not. No, like marijuana, it's there.
Right. Do you think it's going to get a good vote for the issues?
Senator Limmer's got in this committee. We haven't talked about it yet. But
okay.
We didn't do all this offline summer work, so to speak, or have council do it for us without wanting to talk about it next year. And I would expect bring it to bring it at least to the initial judiciary committee and. Where it goes from there, we'll find out.
And I'm glad you all doing what you do. I think in a community like South Minnesota, these issues are happening in the circles that Bud and I are in. But it's not like the Twin Cities, or at least in the sense of volume. But when it happens, it happens. We're seeing the same totals, but at smaller amounts. So it's kind of like, well, that happened southeast. Like we just had a shooting this past week, and it's not the community, that's it's not shooting downtown or something like that.
And so I don't mix marijuana with all this, but we had breakfast with the sheriff this morning. The drug situation, it brings about conflict. And
we should legalize it all. So
maybe then we wouldn't shoot. I don't know. What do you
argue about coffee?
Exactly. There'll be another issue that comes up.
That's going to take a little more time.
The demographics of Rochester are changing, right?
Yeah.
We're 30,000, third largest city in Minnesota. You've been here, you've worked a lot on its growth and various issues. What do you think? What's happening? And I think Rochester's getting gentrified.
Yeah.
That's my because everything's going up. And if you can afford to live here, great. If you can't,
they building so-called affordable housing, but it's affordable for who?
Right.
Exactly.
And Senator, you should know, right? The mayor sat there about 3 or 4 shows ago, and she educated us on some of these major edifices that are going up. Some of them have a requirement to have so many affordable housing, right?
Sure, right.
For the state dollars that are coming to them.
Yeah.
I asked her, and this is nothing against the mayor, where are those houses at? No one knows about, like the one that is across from the public defender office, the Mavis. They even have on their website where DMC, blah, blah, blah. Apparently they have a couple of apartments for low income or whatever, but no one knows about it.
And none of it, but what, so these are low income apartments. Well, how much are they? Well, they're $700 or $800 a month.
Right.
I mean, that's like, not hard on that one.
Right.
I mean, is that really affordable for a lot of people?
Right. And it would be different. And this is where Senator, if there was a major mountain or a major river or something that, the fact that DMC, the attraction is the hospital, which is great, magnificent, international, but we need, it's tough for our folks, but.
Of course, and so like, what is the answer? I would tell you, I don't know, it was last year, Bonneville put $90 million into affordable housing, which is a lot of money.
Right.
Probably gonna be 100 or so this year, as we do our bonding bill. And even 3 or 4 or 5 years before, it's always been, nearly $100 million.
Right.
And we're never gonna spend our way, into we don't talk about affordable housing anymore. I don't want to talk about it 50 years from now. So, again, it's just like, where do we got to provide it. There's no question about it, because it's not going to go away. But how do we build people out of the need for affordable housing?
In respect to some of the DMC funding that comes from the state, and the idea of DMCs being built, and we want people to stay and other attractions, is there a piece of that money that goes towards cultural establishments, whether it's African American, East Indian, whatever, for all those folks that come here? Because again, all this stuff is being built, and the idea is having attractions or what have you for the folks to stay here and or live here. But I don't see any cultural diversity in the broad sense of the term. Some music selections are trying to get a little diverse, but nothing that's helping that piece. So where I feel like this is, is there a block of money or funds if someone wants to build, a jazz club? I keep saying that.
Skating rink.
Skating rink, something that makes it more attractive to live here. Or should we go to the bigger board and say, pony up some of that money, some of that 500 million?
The money can only be spent for like public infrastructure.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I keep saying
so if you,
but they're doing,
But you need the public infrastructure to allow the private stuff to go forward as well. So the answer is like no, but, at least under the current law.
Right.
But but there's other ways to do these things. And,
can we do some like public entertainment type of things? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Could it be supported by state dollars? Because we need some cultural amenities here.
No, exactly, and that's what we do in our bonding bill. That's what, in fact, if it's a public cultural amenity, yes, that money could be spent.
So Bud, he comes up with this idea, along with that the legislation you're gonna write. But if there's a grand idea that is brought out through the community about building a cultural center or a jazz club, that state money can go towards.
Sure. Well, just maybe as we're thinking about, but right now, now on Cascade Lake, right over here, the city is proposing wanting to build an amphitheater so they can have shows and concerts and so on.
So they'll have some state dollars that go towards. More than likely.
That we get into the technicalities. That's outside of the DMZ zone. They couldn't use DMC money, but it's within the ability of say, for instance, my capital investment bill to fund that.
So how does that happen?
With all the other projects in Minnesota.
How does that happen? And this is where a lot of our community, we just don't know how to do it. But the folks that know how to do it, they know how to do it, and they know how to do it right, and make sure the other folks don't know. How do our community who have talents, and there's a lot of
ideas. Get the idea out to the.
How does that happen? How do they access those funds, or to get money to build these things?
On a personal basis, it's just like call me. That's the way I run, and I'm happy to visit with people, individually or as a group setting, whatever it might be.
Right.
We can have these kind of conversations. No question about it.
Sounds good.
But it is technical. It is procedural. It's many times we have to again dig out the law. What does the statute say? Can we fund this? Can't we fund this? And so on and so forth. At least again, this money is appropriated to meet statutory needs, and so we have to make sure.
Okay, that's something we can think about.
But so we go into lawyer land on this once in a while. But for the general conversation. Yes, we can certainly talk about it. That's what we want to do.
Right. The Council for Minnesotans of African Heritage is having a community summit, policy summit. One of the issues they're raising is something we actually debated on the show and had a little fun with it, but the idea of reparations. They are actually going to be speaking about that. It's going to be November 23rd or whatever. What are your thoughts about that? Again, we debated it here, whether it's realistic or not. But apparently it's going to be on the table at this summit. Is that something that?
You know, we've had various discussions on that
Really? Wow.
over the years, and it kind of gets down to, okay, how do you do it? Can you go
how do
back?
you do it?
Can you go backwards? Do we write everybody a check? And again, it's difficult. You know,
It has to be.
Where does a check go?
Right.
Does it go to a family member from a descendant from somebody
Right.
100 years ago, or how do you find them? How do you do
For
it?
instance,
So-
this guy here, he's more authentically African American because he's from Chicago, and I'm from Indianapolis. No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
But how does that happen? That is a definite argument. How do you do that? I mean, a biracial young lady or man, how do you do that? But that's why you're going to figure all that out.
And so we will spend years figuring out how to do it to the point where we don't do it. That's the way it works.
Right.
And so then going forward, what do we do? I think we try to build on today, and because it's more easier to build on today than try to figure out how do we
passion would
procedurally
be
do it.
reparations, like things like what you all are doing. That is to me reparations. You're dealing with gun violence, killing. To me, that is if we can correct that issue, criminal justice reform, and free education to every Minnesotan. Those types of things are reparation light, in my opinion. They don't have the reparations name on it, but I think those agendas are huge if we're going to change the issues. Because it's going to be very, very hard. And we saw to some degree what happened with our Native American community, how that worked or didn't work. And that's a huge, but it's huge, and a lot of folks I might get slapped upside the head once we're off of this show for kind of stirring the controversy on that, but that's a huge.
Can I just? This is what I say is not about me, believe me. But we all, I talked about the prison and kind of an epiphany, and, and I had another one up. This is also in the Phillips neighborhood, South Minneapolis. A lady by the name of Hannah Leader, a white woman living in the middle of a black community, and Hannah walks in my office in 2012 with 5 little children. Unfortunately, she told me about a year or 2 ago, 3 of those are dead. Unbelievable. 3 of those are dead of violence. Yes, of violence. 3 of the 5 of those lovely children. My God. But anyway, Hannah. So they got an old dilapidated swimming pool in South Minneapolis, there in the Phillips neighborhood. And Hannah says, you know what? All the affluent neighborhoods have swimming pools. City of Minneapolis supports them and says them. They won't fix up this one. And so I'm bonding chair, so Hannah, we got to. So I drive over there, by the way, and not surprised, it's a pretty rough neighborhood, And I'm thinking, once again, like the guys in prison, how does a kid normally grow up in this kind of a neighborhood? You cannot be normal.
Right, absolutely.
Living in that kind of a neighborhood. If that's all you know, if that's what you're exposed to every day, I'll just be the judge and say you're going to have a real hard time of life.
And that's why I think criminal justice reform has to go to the corrections unit. Guess what? These kids are programmed, or these inmates are programmed to do this. What about the reprogramming?
But anyway, so go back to the reparations. How can we get back a little bit? So, state of Minnesota, we can fix up this swimming pool, and we did. And this could be, if you go to the Phillips Community Center this afternoon, it is a beautiful place. Lots of kids are there, and they're not out in the street.
And state dollars help to get that out.
Absolutely.
Wow.
That is, and when they closed the door on my political life, and I look back, it's not DMC, it's not all these wonderful things that we've been able to do. It's the Phillips Community Pool.
Oh, that's huge.
Minnesota. It really is, because I'm getting tearing up right now.
Yes, sir, I can see that.
It really is something that's special.
Right.
And it's not even my own town.
Right.
And I had to fight the city of Minneapolis and the mayor, Betsy Hodge, to get that up there. And
wow.
I'm not complaining about it, but that's just the way. It wasn't easy, but we got it done.
Right.
And it's like one of the proudest things that.
That's amazing. Thank you for that.
That makes a difference.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Well,
Senator Karen Edmonds here with the Project Legacy.
Oh yeah, you've done it. We heard you done some great work with Karen.
I mean,
she's making a difference.
We got this program right in our own city that we can support more.
Yeah,
Karen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's great. We
And
love great
if
things.
you haven't had her on the program, get her on here, because.
Yes, we'll actually have John on the program.
John, perfect, yeah.
In a couple of weeks, so
Mhm.
he'll be able to speak to
They
that.
just do great work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Senator, one thing we try to end our show with, there are lots of young men and women who can't even see themselves in the position of being a senator, Dave Senjem. What nuggets of truth or value would you give to those folks to motivate them to say that your condition is not who you have to be?
Yeah, it's, I don't know, I'm just a regular guy, you know?
Right.
I'm just a regular guy, there's nothing special about me at all, in my mind. I guess I carry this title, but I carry it humbly, I hope. People, you just gotta know that I'm not better than you.
Right.
You can aspire, you can dream, you can do it. I know there's background things. You know,
Right.
if you live in South Minneapolis, a kid growing up, you're gonna probably have to work a lot harder than I did
Right.
to climb out of that
Right.
place and that background. But you can do it, and you have to do it because it's so essential to. We need models.
Right.
We need role models. We need mentors, and
Right.
and personally happy to do that with any young person,
Right.
and so on and so forth. But you just gotta believe. It's just so simple. You just gotta believe. As hard as that is, you gotta believe. Then you gotta believe some more, and then you gotta believe some more.
There we go.
And you gotta reach out. Dare to reach out, because there are people, often, maybe me included, that are too bashful to say I can help you.
Right.
But if you ask for help, we'll be there.
All right, there you have it, Barbershop Talk. Thank you for tuning in,
Thank
Senator
you.
Dave Senjem. Appreciate you coming
Thank you.
on the show and all you do. Barbershop Talk. Thank you for tuning in.